And welcome to another edition of the Sports Outlaws podcast. As always, I am Neil, and this is Dan. Dan, I'm going to tell you, I feel a lot better than I did last week at this time when we did our podcast. I went back and listened to it. I don't always do that, and I sound like I was, half a person because I was still recovering from being sick. We are getting ready for baseball, Dan. Spring training is upon us and in full force. We are geared up for NFL with the combine just passed and the draft on their way. And of course, we'll talk NBA. Dan, how are you this week?
All good, buddy. All good. Yeah, we're in March now. Hopefully, the weather's getting a little bit better. We get some more sports to talk about. We also have March Madness kind of coming up. I'm assuming next week. It looks like that you have embraced the new Yankee tradition of the beard going out. So we got a groomed beard going. So you have embraced that tradition. I got to start doing it. But we got a lot to talk about. NFL, a lot of NFL coming up. So let's get started. NFL, let's go.
All right, and it may be off season. We may only have had the combine happen, but we both agreed that the NFL rules all, especially in in our area. Everyone wants to talk NFL all the time, and we're going to start with the NFL here. The big news that at least corresponds to local is that the Giants were heavily in on Matthew Stafford. Actually, reports after the official word came out that he's going back to the Rams were the Giants matched the money and matched the trade criteria that the LA Rams had put out. So, what do you think about that happening?
Yeah, obviously it was someone that the Giants wanted, and he obviously chose to just resign. So, it's just they got to look elsewhere. I think this kind of tells you though that they're kind of gonna look veteran, whether whether Aaron Rodgers seems to be the next move all of a sudden, whether maybe Sam Darnold, you get a little bit into that. I don't know if you want him back in New York though after what happened with the Jets. But I think that's a little indication of where the Giants are going. Looks like they want to go veteran, and perhaps even draft a young guy. Maybe not. Doesn't necessarily have to be the third pick, but maybe somewhere in the second, third, fourth round with the Jackson Darts, Jalen Milrose, and I forgot the guy from Syracuse, the name, the quarterback from Syracuse that's out there. But I think that's what the plan is going forward. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, and I saw another story again today that they think the most likely move for the Giants now that Stafford has re-signed with the Rams is they are going to push heavy to try and trade up for the first overall pick to draft Cam Ward. And even if that's the case, you could still see a veteran like an Aaron Rodgers possibly brought in so that you're not asking the kid to start right away. Listen, you know my feelings. I just hope that they don't stand pat and draft Shador Sanders. When you're getting comparisons to Chad Pennington and Teddy Bridgewater, both fine quarterbacks, both pretty accurate with the ball. You would agree with me. Neither one of them, if they were in their rookie year, would get drafted number 3 overall. So I don't want Shador Sanders. So if they want to trade up and it's going to cost a 2 and a 1, listen, I don't think I would do it, but if Dable believes that this is the kid to lead us into the future, then let him have his young quarterback.
Yeah, it seems like the Shador Sanders. If it was any other year, Shador Sanders wouldn't be a top two quarterback in most years. He's obviously in the top because he's a quarterback and he had a good amount of success. Colorado. Considering what happened last year with the Giants, especially with what was televised on Hard Knocks, where Dayball loved Jaden Daniels, and they basically said that he loved Jaden Daniels, that they should, if they could trade up for him, that they should get him. Obviously, they did not get him. Um, if you think that Cam Ward is the guy, and if you have a similar experience than you do with Jaden Daniels, you really don't want, especially after what happened with Saquon Barkley and everything last year, all that stuff that happened. You need to kind of do what you need to do to get it. And if you're overpaying, if that guy is the quarterback that you think he is by looking at tape and whatever interview questions that you had to ask them, you kind of got to go get him. Especially if you don't believe it, then you don't get them. But if you do believe it, there really isn't a price that's, too high. There is a price that's too high, but if you can get your quarterback, obviously it's shown that Washington definitely showed last year that everything changes for the better.
Yep. And you mentioned it, so I'm going to build on that and use that as a segue, as they call it in the business. No, but you talked about Hard Knocks and the fact that the giant offseason Hard Knocks was so bad. They could not get any NFL team to agree to it. And then there was rumors about Bill Belichick and UNC doing it, but now that has been tabled. And that is a good segue from one crap show to another crap show, which is the New York Jets. I have not heard or read any type of connection to the Jets as far as quarterbacks go. We're still hearing possibly if Shador were to slide to them, that they would select him. There were rumors earlier on that the Jets were calling the Titans to try to trade up for Cam Ward. And yeah, so that's pretty much what we hear from the Jets. Oh, one more Jet other news is they just released Devontae Adams today, I believe.
Yeah, I think it unloaded like 30, like a load off their cap, and it seems like what I think they should be doing is kind of just they're just trying to erase everything from the past, I guess, 2 years where they loaded up, got Aaron Rodgers, they got Devontae Adams the previous year, the trade deadline this past year. It seems like they're just kind of trying to clear cap space and clean house as much as possible. And I did hear, like you said, that they were trying to move up to the number one pick. And I personally think if they had to put Sauce Gardner in there, that's something they might have to do. But I think that they are trying to kind of go back to sort of what they were 2 years. Well, I guess 3 years ago now. It's going to be before Aaron Rodgers, where they were building up that defense, and that defense was touted as a top defense. And going, I guess, younger quarterback. You still have Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson. Bring some stability, get a decent quarterback in there, and then I'll probably assume they're going to go somebody younger eventually, maybe even next year, and then see what they go from there. But I think they kind of have to not say go backwards because the Jets were pretty bad last year, but in terms of unloading veteran contracts off the books so that they can kind of move forward.
Yep. And you brought up his name too. The Sauce Gardner thing about possibly being included if they are to make that trade. They got to make a decision on Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson because they had a lot of promise as rookies. And although Garrett Wilson's numbers looked good last year, I think everyone that watched could tell he struggled a bit last year. And maybe it was the relationship with Rodgers, but he really hasn't shown the same effectiveness that they thought from his rookie year. Same thing with Sauce Gardner. So those are two guys they're going to have to make a decision on. They made the decision on Adams. They want to cut bait. They want to get rid of him. They need to make a decision on Garrett Wilson. And to use that as another segue to another headline, there's been a lot of wide receiver news. So the Jets have their news and their decisions to make wide receivers. But we have, just to name a few, Deebo just got traded for a fifth rounder. Apparently, the rumor is that Christian Kirk is going to be released in Jacksonville. T. Higgins was tagged for Bengals. Of course, we have Adams released, and DK Metcalf just came out a couple hours ago and said he wants to be traded. So, which one of those stories do you like the best? Which one do you think is going to affect us?
I'll go to the T Higgins one. Now obviously he wants and deserves probably a long term deal. Obviously the franchise tag. This is the second time franchise tagging him. I know it's the last time they can do it. He does deserve a long term deal, but I don't see from what Cincinnati went through last year. I know Joe Burrow pushes for it, and if you don't want to make your quarterback unhappy, and Chase is going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league soon enough. I don't see anywhere considering how bad that defense, the Bengals defense was last year. I don't see how you can have with Burrow, Higgins going to make $30 million a year, Chase going to be the highest paid receiver in the league. I don't see for the betterment of the franchise. Obviously, it's what Burrow wants, but I don't see how you can have three guys locked up into so much money, and they didn't even make the playoffs last year.
You got to stop the other
Considering
team.
how defense was,
You
they
eventually
couldn't.
got to
No,
stop the other
no.
team.
Burrow and Chase had career all time Hall of Fame seasons. Chase was by far the best receiver in football last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so you got to stop the other team. That's the thing the Bengals have to figure out where they're going to spend the money. And we'll have a lot more football stuff to talk about. I feel like by the time we meet again next week, you may get some resolution to some of these older veterans and where they may
Barkley
surface.
also got a new extension too.
Yes, made him the
Barkley
highest paid
also
running back
highest
in the
paid running
NFL.
back. Yeah, but that's
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't say he didn't deserve it, but I'm a Giant fan, and I still, when I see it, I believe it that he'll do another full year of not getting hurt. Because when he was with the Giants, he seemed to get banged up all the time. But I mean,
dead to you.
Maybe Philly's so good, he just doesn't take all these hits
He's
that
dead.
the Giants.
He's dead
Yeah,
to you.
yeah, dead
He's
to
dead.
me. Speaking of dead to me, the Knicks against good teams are
Oh,
dead to
stop.
me.
Oh, stop it.
No, I have some stats for you, Daniel. The Knicks this year are 4-7 against the top 8 teams in the NBA. They
That,
are 9-11 against teams over 500. All right, that
that,
I'm ringing the bell of concern. Ding, ding,
what
ding,
was
ding,
that?
ding.
One more time? 9-11 versus over 500?
Correct.
They've only played 20 games. Teams over 500.
So I
Easy schedule.
mean, listen, I know Mitch is back, but I've yet to see yet, and it's going to take some time on putting on Mitch. I'm just saying the team in general. I have yet to see the effect that I think will end up playing out when Mitch is at full strength and playing 25 to 30 minutes a game. Also, Cat had a family issue. I was glad it wasn't his knee barking again, but he had apparently a family issue, something with his girlfriend. And Bridges continues to struggle. He'll have games and moments where he looks awesome, and then he's gone. And we need him to step up in a game against Golden State because no Cat, and he does very little. So, and he's trying to fade away on Steph Curry. Steph Curry is like 6'1" and doesn't play any defense. Take him to the hole.
So that first stat you threw out there, that 4-7 against top, what'd you say, 2, 3,
8.
whatever, 10,
Top 8.
sure, whatever. I mean, that's kind of a little fugazi because they're 0-6 versus those OKC, Cleveland, and Boston. Boston. They're 0-6, right? Or 0-7 now. Are they 0-7?
0-7.
No, 2-2-3. Yeah. So they're 4-0 versus everybody else. They just beat Memphis and Miami on the road. They were down big. It was some good, especially that Miami one, where they looked like they were dead, and Jalen Brunson just wouldn't let them die. Now, Steph Curry does what he does at the Garden. He comes to the Garden, and it seems like the one time he comes to the Garden, he has a fantastic game. Golden State's going to be a good team. With that Jimmy Butler acquisition, they're gonna be up there. I think they could do some like a last hurrah for Steph Curry a little bit. Not saying championship, but I mean, there's not really a team. When you have the Lakers, I think the Lakers are the 2 seed right now. Still not a believer in the Lakers. But getting back to the Knicks, I think the concern, yes, Mitch is back, but eventually you want to see Mitch and Towns kind of share the court a little bit, and obviously Towns is out for some personal reasons, whether family related. I'm sure it's not helping. It's not hurting his knee either, so I'm sure it helps to do a little bit maybe with the knee. But he has personal issues, family. Um, but you want them because I think they want Tibbs going to want them to share the court, and Towns, yes, he did it, I guess, in Minnesota where he's playing next to Gobert for a few years. So I guess they're pretty much the same player, if anything. Gobert and Mitch, they're pretty similar. And to see how they play together. The whole Mikal Bridges thing, I just think he doesn't know where he fits right now. I think between all right, Towns is out. Is he a 2 option now? Is he the 3? You tell me. Is he a 2 or a 3? Is OG the next guy?
No, I think when Cat is on the court and he's healthy, he's your number 2 option. I don't think that's changed. I always said he was 1B behind Brunson, but we all know that when the game is on the line, Brunson actually leads the league in clutch points as they classify. So I want the ball in Brunson's hand. Now that being said, if they put the ball in Brunson's hand, he gets double teamed. One of the first guys I want him looking for 3 is Karl Anthony Towns. If he's a foot behind the line, he drains them better than a lot of other people. So I trust him more than I trust anybody else hitting that 3 if Jalen's getting double teamed. But you would think Jalen gets double teamed and somebody stays on Cat. It's going to be either Josh Hart or Deuce or Bridges or OG who are going to get the guy that comes off of them to go and help on Brunson. Listen, I joke around, I go exaggerate, especially for the podcast, but like I am a little worried, and we'll see what happens. I obviously excited for the playoffs. The Knicks will get there. It looks like they're going to be etched into the 3 seed in the East, which is very admirable. I mean, I know they finished at the 2 last year, but I don't think it's a step back. They could finish with 50 to 55 wins this year, which is a good number. So I can't get too angry, and let's see how the playoffs go.
Yeah. At this point, you just want to hope that you're fully healthy going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
You might lose a couple games. You're going to win your games. As long as you stay in that 3 seed, even the worst of 4 seed. I don't know how many games you guys got. I guess Orlando is still 4, I'm assuming. But you guys know you need to be healthy no matter what. It doesn't matter what seed you are if OG gets hurt again or Cat gets hurt again. So, I mean, you need to be fully healthy. I mean, I'm not saying the record doesn't matter, but you need to be fully healthy going to the playoffs to have any type of chance against the top 2 teams.
Yep. Your Nets, Daniel. They've lost 5 in a row. They are now 3 out of the play-in spot. So a little bit of a struggle, but I mean, I feel like you guys go do this, and then you'll go win 3 out of 4, and it'll be like, oh, the Nets are back in a play-in spot. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of we've run into some good teams, and this is kind of how it is. We've won our games on hustle and effort and pressing and that kind of thing. And usually we win when we're shooting hot from 3 because normally we're shooting like 40 or 53s a game. It's not working now. Our defense has been a little bit suspect lately. Cam Thomas just came back from injury 2 games ago. D'Angelo Russell just came back yesterday against San Antonio. Reports are D'Lo does want to stay. Hey, if he's willing to take a decent deal, I don't see why he can't stay for a couple of years. I'm sure he doesn't like to be traded back and forth for his whole career. But yeah, we're back, I think, in the top 6 in the going the other way. You're going playing top 6 in the lottery in the tankathon. So all those pro tankers are back to being happy again. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. As long as we kind of keep putting the effort towards it, that's kind of what it is. We don't have those skill right now. Go.
I need to clarify something. You guys have enough fans that you have a split fan base between the tankers and the we want the play. You haven't. I didn't think you had a fan base big enough to do that.
Oh, it's a secret society of about like 10 people with probably like 15 different like burner accounts that just go back and forth with Pro Tank
and half of them are
fire
owned
marks, fire marks. Go.
and half of them are owned by Evan Roberts. So
half of them are Evan Roberts probably, and Sean Morash probably has 1 or 2 of them, and yeah, so we have about 10 people that argue back and forth.
And listen, anybody that's watching our podcast, we listen to far too much WFAN between the 2 of us. Sean Morash is such a fake fan of everything except for the Giants. Now, I think he's one of the most diehard Giant fans. He's nuts with it. I wouldn't put his Yankee fandom up for a penny, and I wouldn't put his Net fandom up for a peso. He does Cinco de Five. That's why I said peso. But listen, I think he's a diehard Giant fan, but I think the other fan bases that he roots for, it's fugazi, to say the least.
Yeah, no, he's not big into I mean, he never really talks Nets too much. He's big. Obviously, Evan's the Nets fan on that afternoon drive. But he mentioned, I know every once in a while, but Moritz doesn't really. the Nets are bad right now, so that's why it's bad. I mean, he kind of goes away when the Nets are bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he wants Aaron Rodgers back in the Giants. I don't like him as a Giant fan either. Screw that. He wants Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers.
but I think he dies with the Giants, and I think he kind of dies with the Rangers too. I didn't mention that, and I'll give him credit for that. I want to say like he's a true fan of the Giants, and then he's a true fan of the Rangers, and yeah, he root for the Yankees for the show purposes, especially because then it gives it the counterbalance with
With
Mister
all those Met fans
Roberts.
that are there, all the Met
Yeah,
fans that are there.
of course. And since we're talking about baseball, let's zoom into the spring training stuff. A lot of stuff has happened and not for the good since we met last. I don't know which ones exactly happened, but to keep you up to speed here, the Yankees have had multiple injuries. Luis Heel is looking at being optimistic, probably July, with a very tough strain of his lat muscle. You have DJ LeMay who's going to start IL. We got Stanton who has both tennis elbows. Who am I forgetting, Dan? Efros with the
Yeah, F.
hamstring.
Rossi. Okay, yeah.
Cousins with the forearm. Loizaga with the elbow.
Watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. Am I missing any more?
Um, mm, no, no. That's pretty much it. You named a decent amount to begin with. It's not like you really. Yeah, no. I mean, I guess the bigger one is kind of really the Louis Heel one. Just being that he was a stud for the most part last year, and for him to obviously be starting, he's probably definitely gonna start off the year on the IL. Now all of a sudden, Marcus Stroman just pops back up into the untradeable conversation. I mean, we do need him though. I mean, so it's kind of I'm okay that we do have him just because of that situation. Obviously, I don't want him long term, and he was obviously he didn't even start or really pitch in the playoffs. He was done in the playoffs. But I'm kind of hoping. I know Will Warren has been good in spring training so far. I know he's kind of been not great as those spot starts that he's made for the Yankees last couple of years. So hopefully, maybe he can kind of take a leap or a hop step, and kind of maybe jump him in the rotation to add him to Cole, Fried, Rodon, um, and Schmidt. So hopefully Warren can take that next step.
Yeah. And Max Fried looked quite sexy in pinstripes the other day. I don't watch too much spring training. I'll read up on it after the games are over, but he was pitching at night the other night, and it was a turn on to say the least. So the Yankees look like they're going to stick with the in-house options at third base, even with DJ LeMahieu getting injured. But I haven't seen anything. You think they stick with in-house options with DH too? I mean, who knows how long Stanton's out? I know I saw JD Martinez's name floated out there, but
Yeah, no, it seems like though. I still think there's a little hope for. Now I don't know who to have to trade because obviously Stroman's off the board for Nolan Arenado. It seems like his options. It seems like are almost down to none. And considering the Cardinals pretty much said throughout the offseason that he's at least they're just really trying to get rid of him. It's crazy how you could just invite him back into the clubhouse and just kind of have him on the team. But it seems like we're going in house for now. Definitely with Peraza. I know we have Peraza, Cabrera, and that really young guy George Lombard Jr., who's looked pretty good in spring training so far.
yeah, it's right here.
So I mean, I think he's still, but I don't think he's competition this year. I think he's still got a year or two at least to kind of make his name. So I think we end up going probably with Peraza. I know we don't like to hear this, but Dom Smith has looked actually pretty good in spring training as well. If he has to start a couple of games at DH. If he can hit, he can hit. I mean that you can't really
He gives you
take that
he
away.
gives you a little bit of depth too because he can play the outfield. He can play a little first base. I'm not saying he's going to.
I don't. I mean, I don't want to see Trent Grisham. I'd rather see Tom Smith than Trent
From
Grisham.
your lips to God's ears, you know I hate
So
him.
yeah. So hopefully that really not be last thing. And the last thing we haven't really had Dominguez in a while, dropping any fly balls. Yeah, I know we had a bomb. It's the left center, I want to say, yesterday against the Phillies. They actually whooped up Zach Wheeler a little bit. I know it's spring training. But, yeah, haven't heard about Dominguez dropping any fly balls, so that's a good thing. So
Yeah, I mean, people get their panties in a bunch. I want to give the kid a shot. I think that, he makes a couple errors in the outfield is not going to still make him as bad as Alex Verdugo, who was supposed to be such a great fielder, and he crapped the bed constantly fielding in the outfield, and he couldn't hit with a lick after the first month of the year, and yet we were married to him the whole year. Why can't we give a kid that we drafted and produced and be married to him the whole year? So you know how I feel.
yeah, it seems like that's what they're trying to do. At least they're not like shying away. It seems like they're just going to keep putting him in left field
Yeah.
and just say, learn. And
Yep.
it's just kind of like, if you want to play, I'm putting Bellinger in center field. If you want to play for the Yankees, learn to play left field. It seems like what they're doing.
And we are equal opportunity here, so we do want to give the Mets at least a check-in. I did my research, and obviously we listen to WFN all the time, so we hear them talk about the Mets. And the only thing I could take out of Mets camp that is noteworthy is that Soto looked like he was having fun.
Oh, God.
So
Crap.
the $800 million man was having fun with his peasant teammates.
Yeah, they're showing the pictures of back-to-back where he's in a dugout in the World Series as a Yankee, and then they show him in the dugout during spring training with those clown spring training hats that the Mets have. Those trash hats. Not sure if you've seen a picture of them before, but they
Trust
are
me,
absolute They are
they're
no,
somewhere in there.
I don't know if it's that bottom left one that you kind of have in your screen over there. Maybe it's kind of half over there with next to the Yankee cap. But
Yeah, that's it.
anyway, yeah, that one. It looks absolutely disgusting. It's like they might as well put Grimace back on the field. By the way, Jose Iglesias did not sign with the Mets. He went to
Oh
the
my!
Padres. So that's screw you, Mets. There you go. OMG is dead. Um, but yeah, what great. Juan Soto's having fun while he gets his $800 million for his one at bat that he's having every week. Get out
Yep.
of here. Let's wait till the regular season.
Yep. Listen, he is a great player. They will do fine. I hate to sound like I'm a hater. I still don't think they're better than at least two teams in their division.
Yeah, no, they got some pitching issues. They have Manaya, who is going to start on the shelf. You don't know what you're getting from Senga, Kodai Senga. Clay Holmes, I know he's had a great 6 innings, but Clay Holmes, he might have a good couple starts. Everything he did with the Yankees was he was really good for a long time, but then he had his stretches where he just was really bad.
Yeah.
So I think that could be similar. Mets have their own problems. They got to worry about every time I'm talking about fans. Worry about your division before you worry about the Yankees.
We're Big Brother. I'm Tommy Lugauer, and we're Big Brother. We're Big Brother. Why don't you win a World Series in your lifetime, and then you can start trying to pretend like you're Big Brother, tool bag. I love him. I love the EDM music to start his show. I like his energy, but
The
his Met
dogs
stuff
do
is so
damage.
annoying.
Dogs are doing damage. Yes, screw
Oh, let's calm down. He's rooting for the Knicks
that.
now.
That's the next. You can't talk about the next.
Uh,
uh,
so, good podcast, Dan. We're gonna have hopefully a lot more to offer the audience. We'll have our trivia from last week. We'll post probably tomorrow or the next day, and then we'll have another trivia that we'll post a couple days after that.
all right. So yeah, keep following us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, new Sports Outlaws. Yeah, we got Mark. We got the Johnny. Maybe let's talk about the St. John's. Might have to
No
start talking
way,
about
yeah.
them. Are they all of a sudden back to being New York because they haven't been New York in a long time? So we might start talking about the Johnnies with them in there. I think they're number 6 in the country right now, so they're getting up there. But yeah, we'll have a lot more. March Madness starting, I believe, in 2 weeks. I think we have our conference championships
And the next
next
week?
week.
Yeah.
Next week. So yeah, we'll have a lot more football, basketball. We're kind of getting to almost the end of the year. And baseball will be, I guess, 2 weeks away from the beginning of the year. I think we start late March. All right. So until next time, I'm Danny. This is Neil. Signing off.